About this movie, critic Ian Nathan of Empire Magazine says, like all white-knuckle rides, once you're done, you fancy doing it all over again. Dwayne Burge of The Hollywood Reporter notes, while the special effects are clearly the star of this masterwork, the storyline itself, although predictable, is crisp and full of heart. And about this film's director and focus of January, Kenneth Turan of the LA Times says, an expert in making audiences squirm and twist, at making us feel the rush of experience right along with the actors, Bont choreographs action and suspense so beautifully, he makes it seem like a snap. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, the second installment of January, celebrating the career of director and cinematographer Jan de Bont, we decide the fate of Twister.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters.
See, I thought you were going to do a Bill Paxton right there, but you didn't.
No, I don't really do a Bill Paxton.
Greetings, Starfighters.
Greetings, Starfighter. I don't know. He's just
Greetings, Starfighters. I'm thinking of him from Twister specifically.
Oh, you see, I feel like that sounds more like him in like weird science.
Weird science.
Yeah. or aliens.
Oh.
Game over, man. Game over.
Welcome to Ruined Childhoods. Bill Paxton. I mean, I think that's a, I don't know if we've poured one out for Bill Paxton yet, but that is a major pour one out.
It's a retroactive pour one. Definitely like Bill Paxton gone too soon.
Yeah, and this past week, we've certainly had a number of pour one outs. Peter Bogdanovich, Sidney Poitier, I mean.
Yeah. To accomplish both actors and directors.
Right.
I was watching Bogdanovich's first film, Targets, the other night. It's streaming on Showtime, and
I like to call it Targets.
Well, that was the French remake, and he plays a supporting role in it, and it's really I unfortunately didn't get the chance to finish it, but I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's kind of intense. I don't want to give too much away about it because I think it's when we think of Peter Bogdanovich, we think of, or at least I think of
Last Picture
Show, Paper Moon.
Yeah.
Noises Off. More not exactly recent. Noises Off was released 30 years ago, but his direction of Noises Off, of course, his portrayal of Dr. Elliot Kupferberg on The Sopranos. And
right, yeah.
But we think of those as 1970 pictures. I also highly recommend listening to the first season of the podcast, The Plot Thickens, which was about Peter Bogdanovich. About his life and career, and I learned a lot about him from that. And highly recommend, if anyone is digging into his work for the first time and wants to know more about him, check that out.
Yeah, for sure. But right now you're listening to this podcast.
Yes.
So don't stop it now just to listen to that one.
No.
Let's keep up. Let's go on further. And for anybody who is a regular listener of the show, a few episodes, I think it was 2 episodes ago, I had a slip of the tongue, and then there was another slip of the tongue. We were talking about Jamie Dornan, and I mentioned I misspoke at first, which we caught immediately, saying that the movie that he was in is called Berlin, and then I corrected myself saying it was Dublin. It's Belfast.
Belfast. Oh, no,
it's Belfast.
Neither of us.
So I was just like,
that's been haunting you, keeping you awake at night.
It's been haunting me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Dan, this is our second installment of January, celebrating the masterful work.
But before we get into it, we have another pour one out, and because we'd be remiss if we did not salute Sidney Poitier.
Oh,
Well, I mentioned Sidney Poitier before.
Did you mention?
But we didn't. But we didn't go into.
We kind of paused on Bogdanovich there, and I feel like we need to talk about Poitier as well. And we haven't covered anything of his yet. But I think a lot about, not just the classics he did in the 60s, Raisin in the Sun, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Lilies of the Field, so on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. His directorial achievements, such as Stir Crazy with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. And I think a lot about movies that I saw growing up with him in it, like Little Nikita, which I felt like was on HBO a lot, and that was him and River Phoenix, and then they teamed up again for Sneakers, which is just one of my 90s favorites. And
we will do Sneakers at some point, but that's one where I have a housekeeper who comes to help out with the house, and Sneakers is one of her favorite movies. So when she came to the house on Friday, the first thing she said to me is she was like, "Oh my God, when I heard Sidney Poitier, I thought about you and Sneakers," because we just talk about Sneakers every single time, to a point where I'm just like, all right, I need to find a way out of this conversation that I'm really enjoying being in, because I know that I'm paying her to be here.
You had to sneak out.
I had to sneak out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, absolutely pouring out Sidney Poitier, major loss. And, but lived a great long life.
Oh,
so
lived to 94. So, it's in the case of Bill Paxton, Bill Paxton
taken way too
died,
soon.
I want to say at around age 60. And, definitely gone too soon, and
definitely gone too soon.
Hey, look, if we could have Sidney Poitier live forever, we certainly could, we certainly would, but 94 is nothing.
A great long life.
Nothing to sneer
So yes, this is January, the celebration of the masterworks. I don't know if I could say masterworks, but some notable films from the eyes and mind of Jan de Bont.
Right. And, sharing his work, we've covered Speed already, and we kicked off January with Basic Instinct.
We sure did.
Which he was the cinematographer for, because that was really, and you look at the list of movies that he was the cinematographer on, and it fits in perfectly, especially when you watch movies like Speed and Twister. You think about the camera movements in Die Hard, and you see that
right.
type of movement again, kind of like the pace of the camera movement. I feel like he's just a master.
And in the introduction to this episode, I mentioned one critic in the LA Times who mentioned how Jan de Bont is an expert at making audiences squirm and twist, and making us feel the rush of experience right along with the actors. And I feel like he's referring to probably Speed, but also to some of the cinematography that Jan de Bont has done, because even in Basic Instinct, his work specifically really draws in the audience just with his his eye.
It's like his cinematography just seems to suit the films that he's done so well. Hunt for Red October was another one that I wanted to throw out there as well, which I'm sure at some point we'll cover the the Clancy verse and
the Jack Ryan verse.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this in the last episode, but for anybody who's tuning in either fresh or if you've taken a break from us, I get it. We're exhausting. We put these out every single week, come hell or high water, or I don't know, most of the time come hell or high water. And usually we'll put the name of the next movie that we're going to be covering in the episode's description in the show notes. But what we started doing in the last episode is peppering in the title of the movie sneakily through the entire episode that we're covering. So Dan has already done it on this episode.
Little
So pay attention.
Little hints, trying not to be too obvious. And I forgot to point this out on the last episode, but just a little coincidence, little factoid here. Jan de Bont and I are birthday buddies. We are both October 22nd babies.
Look at that.
Yes.
How wonderful.
He a good solid 37 years before me.
Right. No, of course. Yeah. So Jan de Bont, Twister, should we get into it?
Let's get into it. How about a synopsis?
Oh, how about one? Bill and Joe Harding were two storm chasers with a dream to revolutionize tornado research, potentially buying Midwesterners more time to find safety in advance of a cyclone. But after some time, their marriage fell apart, leaving Bill to find success in TV weather and get engaged to posh psychologist Dr. Melissa Reeves. In the meantime, Joe and her ragtag team of funnel fuckers finished developing Dorothy, a collection of sensors designed to revolutionize storm preparedness. But when Bill and Melissa go to find Joe so she can sign their divorce papers, Bill finds himself back in the storm chasing game, looking forward to the chance to put Dorothy to the test, especially after learning that his nemesis, the wealthy Dr. Jonas Miller, had stolen Dorothy's concept. Over the course of the next day, both storm-chasing teams raced to be the first to incorporate their technologies, putting their lives at great risk and ending in tragedy for one of them. That's what I got for the synopsis. But I'm going to just run through the cast a little bit. So Joe is played by Helen Hunt. Bill is Bill Paxton. How convenient for him that his name is also the name of the character. Jamie Gertz is Melissa. Carrie Elways is Dr. Jonas Miller. And then we've got their like ragtag teams. And then we've got Philip Seymour Hoffman, Alan Ruck, Sean Whalen, who I don't know if Dan, if you ever go on TikTok, but Sean Whalen does a lot of he tells a lot of stories about his time on sets and stuff like that, and it's really entertaining. So I have to go back and see if he talks much about Twister.
Okay.
We have Todd Field, Wendell Josepher, Joey Slotnick, Jeremy Davies. These are people who, if you saw them, you'd probably recognize them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then on the other team, some of the people who you'd recognize are Zach Grenier, Patrick Fischler, and why am I blanking on the actor's name? It's like Abraham
Ben Ruby.
Kubiak
from Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Yeah, he plays Bubba, one of the
Of course
he
does.
Yeah, I was watching this with a friend, and she was so astonished whenever I would say like, "Oh, that's Zach Grenier." She'd be like,
I know.
Who?
Yeah. No, Zach Grenier and Patrick Fischler. Patrick Fischler, by the way, if you're like, who are you talking about? Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, yeah.
The guy who tells the creepiest part of that whole movie.
He's fantastic, and he's one of those, if you saw him, you'd know him kind of people.
Yeah.
Zach Grenier is fantastic on The Good Wife. At least that's where I remember him best from.
He's fantastic. He's Fight Club. He's Edward Norton's boss in Fight Club.
That's right.
Yeah. And I remember on the commentary from Fight Club, like they talk about him a lot and how awesome he is to work with.
That's cool, because it's such a small character in the movie that,
Yeah, but it's like
you don't really think about him that much.
He's one of those actors, though, that you just bring in and it's like, yes, that guy is the right guy. You might not know his name, but you're like, yes, that is exactly the right person for that role.
Yeah. And what's also what's up?
What about Lois Smith?
Lois Smith, of course. I got into the teams. I didn't even get into Lois Smith, who plays Helen Hunt's character's Aunt Meg.
Yeah, beloved by all.
Another one of those where if you saw her, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like amazing character actors in these roles. And then this was right at the kind of beginning of Philip Seymour Hoffman kind of towing the line between two worlds, I'd say.
Well, this was the first movie that this was not the first movie I saw with Philip Seymour Hoffman in it, but it was the first movie where Philip Seymour Hoffman like made an impression. And when the next movie I saw him in was probably Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, yeah.
And when I saw him in Boogie Nights, it's like, that's the guy? Is that the guy from Twister?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, you have movies like Twister, you have movies like Along Came Polly, where, he's playing these just like really silly side characters. But then you have Big Lebowski, where he's, a silly side character for sure, but like in a very, very different way.
Yeah.
And, we all saw where Philip Seymour Hoffman's career went, once he started working with Paul Thomas Anderson and the Coen brothers, and just like really took off. And I'm so happy that he did. He was one of the best.
Another one to pour one out for. Another
Absolutely.
one gone way too soon.
He's one of those where I remember where I was when I found out that they died.
Likewise, I found out from you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, Dan and I do text each other at pretty much every celebrity death. I'm sure that we've broken the news about many actors and directors and so on and so forth to each other.
Yeah, no, that was back. That was like back in the time where, I would just get a text from you and the preview would pop up. And if it was just a celebrity's name, I'd just be, oh no.
That's why I have to be very careful, because if they didn't die, then I have to give a little bit more context.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm trying to remember if I think I might have been I was at Best Buy in Union Square in New York getting we were getting our new phones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I actually remember I had to like look at the date to double check. But
I was with my very good friend Anna Anderson, and we are both Philip Seymour Hoffman super fans. So we mourned together.
Yeah. We could just sit here and talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman the whole time, but we should maybe get into the Twister a bit here.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to mention about, I have a few things that I want to mention about just the movie in general. One of them is that it totally holds up. I feel like there's enough practical effects in this movie, and they were very smart about what was digital and what was practical, that the digital things worked well and still do work well. Clearly if they were done today, they might look a little different, but like probably not too much different. And the practical things I think would have been done digitally these days, and it would have looked worse.
Exactly. It would have looked worse. And in fact, one of the things that I read from, of course, the most credible source of information, IMDb trivia.
I don't even look at it anymore.
Oh, I love looking at it. It's so much fun. And I
don't want it to taint my mind.
Well, I don't think it can. if you let it do that, then no. But one of the things that I saw in this was, and it fit, like, because this was what I was thinking. I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking, I was like, if they made it today, it would look like so crappy. And I'll go on my grumpy old man rant about like, how many cuts there would be in a 30-second span of film. One of the reasons, according to this, that Bont signed on to direct the movie was that it was like maybe one of the last chances he would have to direct a large scale film like this with practical effects.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Yeah. So, and it's like so true, because then, by the end of the decade, in 1999, you've got all these other movies coming out with all these digital effects, and they just look like garbage.
And you think about what else is coming out in 1996, you've got Independence Day. Yeah. And then was it 97 where there was like Dante's Peak and
Volcano? That was either 97 or
97 was also Armageddon.
No, that was 98.
98. Yeah. That's right. 98 was Armageddon and Deep Impact. So it's like, Jurassic Park was Was that 96?
Lost World was 97.
Lost World was 97. Okay.
Yeah, Lost World was 97.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jurassic Park was 94.
93.
93.
Yeah.
You're so much better.
First Jurassic Park was 93. Yeah.
Yeah.
And which ironically, Michael Crichton, co-screenwriter for Twister.
Yeah, and that was another one where, of course, blended, digital animation and practical effects, but, certainly had to be very creative about how to kind of hide the seams,
Yeah.
So this movie totally holds up, and the sound design in this movie is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I was, paying very close attention to that. And one of the things that I liked the most about this movie is that the villain isn't the tornado. The villain is a rich white guy.
Yes.
That's what I like the most about this movie.
Yeah.
Is it's like the villain is just the guy with the corporate sponsorships.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum relationship in Steve Zissou.
Yeah.
We're like,
absolutely.
There's a friendly past there.
Yeah.
But, and Carrie always just plays it so smug and obnoxious. Mm-hmm. So much so that, you don't really, you don't feel bad for what ends up happening to him.
Yes and no. I'd say.
I mean, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that he. Okay, spoiler alert: he gets swept up into a tornado and crashes his truck into the ground and he dies. But it was because of his hubris that he wouldn't listen to. Here, let's just listen to the clip.
Yeah.
The base must be at least a mile wide. We can't see it anymore. What is your location?
I'm right alongside her. She's beautiful. All right, we're getting ready to play, so pull back and prepare to monitor.
They have to be there somewhere.
Okay, path is stable. Copy that. Ben, this is it. This is the one. Stay sharp back there.
They have position. They could make it.
Not unless they anchor the pack.
They're referring to Jonas's team.
Joe, can you hear me?
Not now, Harding.
Jonas, listen to me. The pack is too light. The twister will toss it before it reaches the core. You have to anchor it.
Oh, sharing valuable information, Joe. Okay, I'll consider that. Thank you.
Jonas, listen to me. Don't be What? Can you see them?
Jonas, what's your position?
Oh, howdy, Bill. We are heading northeast, running parallel, and about to pull ahead of it on the left. Why?
Hang back a minute. We got a pretty good view from back here. She can shift her track, and if she does, she's gonna come right at you. You copy?
Maybe we should do what he says. He'd never put us in harm's way. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. Your mouth shut, put your foot on the gas, and stay on this heading.
It's unbelievable!
What is it? What's wrong?
The base is so huge! It must be at least a mile wide! Do you copy, Dr. Miller?
Jonas, listen to me. This is not
Get off this frequency, Bill.
She's shifting.
Oh, my God. Jonas, I'm telling you. Eddie, I know you can hear me. Turn around now. Get out of there.
And that's when they turn the radio off and the twister takes them away.
Yeah.
It's a really haunting scene. It's, it's one of those like that, the size of this thing and just the way that they display it is absolutely terrifying. And you just see these tiny little trucks, these tiny little giant trucks right next to it.
Right.
And it really gives you a great idea of the scope. And it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I actually remembered seeing it in the theater and remembered.
Oh, yeah.
I just like watching it back. I was like, oh, man. I'm like, yeah, because I was feeling it intense just watching it here at home.
Yeah.
And then I was remembering back seeing it in the theater and thinking like, oh, wow. Yeah, no, I remember that. It was really like intense and powerful. And the effects are so well done that you really, and just like the attention to detail in the storm to show its power. And it's so
Right.
cool because the pace, and this is kind of coming back to Bont's strength, is that the pace of it is so great. He really hits those adrenaline peaks well, and then also gives you that time to cool off. Similarly, I think very similarly to Speed, it had very much that I'm at the edge of my seat. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Okay, I can relax now. And we're in a break, and now I'm learning more about the characters. The script for it is, for this genre, so good.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of these like disaster movies, they really try to get in the emotional core of things. And this is certainly no exception. You know, you have Bill and Joe as this couple who's married but separated and about to be divorced. And you also have Melissa, the new fiance, who's there just to get these divorce papers signed so she can marry Bill. And then also you have Joe's backstory, which is what we see at the beginning of this movie, where she is a child and there is a tornado coming into town and her parents bring her into a storm cellar, but the tornado rips the door off the cellar along with her father, who's holding on to it. And she's just had this fascination with tornadoes ever since then.
And to come back to your comment about the tornado not being the villain, I was thinking of some parallels to Jaws, and I mean, not just because Steven Spielberg's a producer on this, but thinking about the parallels to Jaws and how that beginning really sets up her goal, not to she's not trying to end tornadoes, but that her, the stakes for her are to come up with an early warning system and to know more about tornadoes so that people could have more than a 2 to 3 minute warning to get to safety. And we see it when the tornado, ends up hitting Wakita, where Aunt Meg lives.
Aunt Meg.
And you really hear, she says she was the sirens went off, and next thing you know, it hit.
Yeah. And let's listen to a clip from when they first are. Well, they're describing Dorothy, their system for researching tornadoes. They're describing it to Melissa, and I love this mechanism in a movie. It's the person who knows nothing that you have to explain things to. It's the Erica Laniak in Under Siege that's along for the ride, so that someone has to be explained things that they are they're the audience.
No, wait. Do you have the setup for Dorothy as well? Because it's such a great bait and switch. When
I don't think so.
When they're like, she's here. They set it up so that as you're kind of seeing them go through this difficult thing where he's trying to get her to sign the papers.
Oh yeah.
And you're just starting to learn things, and then all of a sudden they start talking as though they have a kid. That's there. It's like, is she here? Can I see her?
Bill's concept, man. The extreme, man. It came from his brain.
I had a hand in it.
Wow, it is great. What is it?
It's an instrument pack for studying tornadoes. First one in history.
It's very exciting. Scientists have been studying tornadoes forever, but still nobody knows how a tornado works. We have no idea what is going on inside because nobody's ever been able to take scientific measurements from inside the funnel. That's what she's gonna do.
How?
We put her up inside a tornado. She opens and releases hundreds of these sensors that measure all parts of the tornado simultaneously.
You see, Melissa, it's like this. These sensors go up the funnel and radio back information about the internal structure, wind velocities, flow asymmetries. We could learn more in 30 seconds than I have in the past 30 years. Get a profile of a tornado for the first time.
And what will that do?
If we knew how a tornado really worked, we could design an advanced warning system.
Aren't there already tornado warnings?
Well, the civil
They're not
defense-
good enough. They're nowhere near good enough. Right now, it's 3 minutes. If we can get this new information, we can increase warning time to 15 minutes.
Give people a chance to get to safety. At least that's what these guys are trying to do.
What I love is the way that Bill is so clearly in it for all the right reasons. You can hear it in his voice. He's so passionate about giving people a chance to get to safety when there's a tornado on the way.
Yeah. And
I love it. It's great.
But also with Helen Hunt, like you hear that in her where it's personal for her. We don't know Bill's motivations. It might just be like, this is a problem that I can help solve.
Yeah.
But for her, to co-opt a Jaws tagline, it's personal.
Yeah. With Bill, it's like he has this innate ability to kind of sense tornadoes. Like, it'd be really interesting to find out what his motivation was. But like, there's this one moment where he's just like looking up at the sky, and then he just like grabs some like dirt and just like let it fall through his fingers. And it's like, something is up. Something is up.
That's the best device to use in a movie when you want to show that a character just has like kind of this extra sensory perception for the world around them. It's just picking up some dirt and letting it fall from their fingertips. And then it's like, it's time.
Something's happening.
We better
get
roll
to safety.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I think that the performances are great, and one of the things that I was thinking while watching it was when there's this huge tornado around them and just like wind going and shit flying everywhere, all of that's added in later. So you have to picture that when that camera is rolling, there is silence around them, and they just sound like the world is ending. If you could just judge it by the sound of their voice.
Yes. Yeah. Parts of it. And other parts, I think they like, there were like jet engines used to like actually.
Oh, were there really?
Create wind. But there's definitely moments where, yes, they are acting.
Yeah. Let's listen to this one. This is when they've gone through, like they've gone past this one tornado, and a lot of their equipment falls over, and they lose a bunch of the sensors from one of the Dorothy units.
Go back!
Forget it! It's too late!
Help me! Help me!
What are you doing?
Help me!
Joe, the pack's wasted! It's over!
What is wrong with you? We can still do this!
Jesus Christ, listen to yourself! You're obsessed!
You've never seen what that thing can do, so don't talk to me about it! You've never seen it! You've never seen it miss this house, and miss that house, and come after you!
Christ, Joe, is that what you think it did?
Oh, no.
Jesus, Joe, why can't you just forget it?
You don't understand, okay? You'll never know.
When's it gonna be enough, huh? How close do you have to get? Talk to me! Joe, things go wrong. You can't explain it. You can't predict it. Killing yourself won't bring your dad back. I'm sorry he died, but it was a long time ago. You gotta move on. Stop living in the past and look at what you got right in front of you.
What are you saying?
Me, Joe.
Melissa's listening on the radio. And that is when Melissa realizes that she shouldn't be with Bill. Bill needs to be with Joe. And she does the right thing and, leaves Oklahoma forever. Yeah.
Yeah. There is an element of it that I feel is worth noting, because it was one thing that kind of stuck out to me as being perhaps the type of dialogue that we might have differently now. And it comes up a little bit in that scene, but earlier on there's a scene where they're basically talking about like going to therapy, and it's really kind of shaming
The whole therapy shaming.
Yeah, and it's like she's got trauma that she is dealing with in her way. But in this scene when he's just like, all right, stuff happens, and it's like, okay, yeah, but also she should probably see a therapist and like work some shit out.
Let's listen to that scene. This is when they are heading on their way to their first tornado together in the movie. And Joe and Bill are having their first kind of conversation back with each other after what seems to be quite a while.
She work at the station? Is that where you met her?
Joe,
What?
I don't want to fight.
I'm not fighting, I'm talking.
I don't want to fight.
She's nice.
Ha!
Uh-oh, she's not nice.
I know what you meant.
You do.
Yes, so don't do this.
Okay, I'm making extremely civilized conversation here. You're biting my head off. Jesus.
Yes, she's very nice. No, she does not work at the station. She's a therapist.
Oh. Yours?
Christ,
What?
you couldn't resist,
I'm not
could you?
saying you
Come
need
on.
therapy.
What?
I'm
what?
not.
Wait. I need therapy?
I didn't say that.
I need a therapist?
I didn't
What
say
could I
that.
possibly need a therapist for?
I don't know.
You're the doctor, tell me.
I don't know. Inability to finish things,
finish
maybe
things.
rushing into things you can't quite commit to.
Commitment?
You asked me.
Look.
You asked
no,
me.
that is bullshit. Look, I may have
You
walked out,
asked.
but at least I showed up in the first place. You never have the
Okay,
slightest
there's a
idea.
whole
You
road
never have the
thing
slightest
going
idea
on
about
out there.
commitment, what being married means. Like stability and supportiveness, and a house and all kinds of neat stuff like that.
Can I drive?
No!
Then would you?
Whoa!
What a fun scene.
The chemistry is, I don't want to
Great
say
chemistry.
I don't want to say off the charts, but like
It's great.
Great chemistry. I feel like Helen Hunt tends to just have good chemistry with whoever she seems to be working with.
You know, if you can make it convincing with Paul Reiser, then yeah, why not?
Like Paul Reiser, Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah. So clearly this is it's the mid-90s when therapy was the punchline for so many things, including my beloved Frasier, where people who go see therapists are, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. And yeah, clearly now we know, they all should be in therapy. Like, I don't know, maybe Dusty, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, is probably okay, but who knows?
Right.
But,
he's living his best. Well, I mean, no, they all, most of them seem to be living there. We don't know that much about.
No.
By the way, meant to point out that the guy who plays, Preacher, who I'm not sure what his specific job is.
Who played him?
The same actor, Scott Thompson, who played Chad Copeland in the Police Academy movies.
That's who that was. Got it.
Copeland,
okay.
or Dopeland, as Captain Harris calls him.
Right.
Always nice to see one of the supporting actors from the Police Academy cast in a non-Police Academy movie.
Yeah, of course. I did not even clock him. I was just like, and some other guy, and yeah.
Yeah, I was looking through the cast because I was like, there's a lot of them who I like Sean Whalen, like I knew his face, but who is that?
So, and that's one of the things is that the storm chasing crew is so big, and it doesn't need to be that big. It's like Jeremy Davies plays like the photographer, and Alan Ruck is like the navigator, and certainly they could have probably consolidated a few of those characters into just one, but it felt more real that there were a lot of them who like maybe you don't even know exactly what they do.
Yeah.
One person just like looks at a radar and maybe doesn't say too much,
And
but
maybe
like the fact that there are these people there it feels more real because it's like, of course you'd have a specialist that does one particular thing.
Yeah. No, I could probably think of like jobs that they all would have would have been doing, possibly.
Yeah. But it seems like that nowadays maybe would be like a way to save money is to kind of keep that cast list down.
Yeah, right. And you know what I thought was the most just speaking, because I was thinking about scenes where you have like all the crew is doing something, and that made me think of the least realistic element of this movie is that Joe figures out how to get the little pods from Dorothy to act like to better fly up into the tornado. So they start cutting up aluminum cans and making these like little propellers. And I'm like, how is no one cutting their finger on these aluminum? They're cutting up these aluminum cans, Pepsi cans.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is nobody cutting their finger? That's unrealistic. The cows.
That is the least realistic part.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. The cows. This film is famous maybe most for the cows flying through.
And Jamie Gertz's wonderful delivery of the line, "I gotta go, Julia, we got cows."
Yeah. So yeah, let's listen to that.
Jesus, Bill, I've never seen clutter like this.
I don't think anybody has. Plastic is too high.
Bill, we're in the core.
Okay, we got sisters.
Oh my God.
The tornado splits into two tornadoes.
Yes. Julia, I can't talk to you right now.
We're right under the flanking line.
I realize that.
You can't attack this thing from the south. We're gonna get rolled.
Watch me.
Julia, I know you're upset. You just gotta breathe. We both just gotta breathe.
Cow.
I gotta go, Julia. We got cows.
Another cow.
Actually, I think that was the same one.
It's such a great moment, and it's so memorable, and it just works so well with everything that's going on. It's great. Yeah. You gotta love the cow.
Just another one of those like touches in this movie that just really holds it together, and it keeps the humor. Because I mean, it's a movie about deadly storms, which, and as I'm watching it, I was thinking, and I'm no meteorologist, and I don't know that much.
Oh, you're not?
About me. No, forgot to update.
Just amateur.
Decided not to pursue that. But I was thinking about that, and thinking about how, due to climate change, we've seen much more intense storms in the last 10, 15 years. It's been, 25, almost 26 years since Twister was released. And I don't know that storms of the intensity that we see in that were all that common.
Yeah.
Because I felt like this movie, like there was the sense that that there was some exaggeration to the severity of the storm, but I don't know that would be the case now.
I don't know.
And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, is this just what happens now every year and in different places?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think about, here in Oregon and also in like Northern California, there's a lot of wildfires.
Right.
And you get that to a certain extent in Washington. I think that you mostly get smoke from south.
Yeah.
But, that's like an inevitability. And it's just like, all right, well, how bad is it going to be this year? It's not a matter of like, are there going to be any? It's just like, all right, how many air purifiers am I going to have at all times? And so that's a big component. Hurricanes and tropical storms, they seem to be, I don't know. And it's hard to say if we're just finding out about a lot more of the like smaller ones, maybe because of the news cycles being just like so in our faces these days. But I mean, you'd find out about the massive ones back in the mid 90s, or like, when like El Nino was like the talk of the town. That certainly made the rounds. But I feel like that's like, that's so common, and that's like nothing compared to what we have now. Yeah,
right.
It's true. Yeah.
So, which I guess brings us to the what you gonna do?
Well, let's first talk about what has been done and what they've been talking about doing. So not last year, 2 years ago. We're in 2022 now. In 2020, what's the guy's name? He did Tron Legacy.
Oh,
Kaczynski, not Jerzy Kaczynski, the alleged writer,
and not Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Not Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. No,
Joseph Kaczynski.
Joseph Kaczynski, who did Tron Legacy, is slated to direct a remake. Helen Hunt has expressed interest in writing and directing a sequel that would involve a more diverse cast, but I guess that was shot down. There, of course, is a pinball machine. There was a Universal Studios theme park ride or attraction. And then there was the, I guess the novelization. Michael Crichton put out a novel version of the screenplay that he helped write. So there's been a few things, and I think that what would be the most fascinating is, a series that is focusing on, storm chasers, like this group of people. You have this like really bizarre cast of characters. I'm sure that there have been reality shows. I haven't done my due diligence to find out if and what they were, but yeah, I mean, there's got to be some like real awesome, character moments that you can find with that kind of a crew. People who are just like that passionate and that fearless to, have that kind of position, and, seeing what kind of, new technologies would be around. And I'm not saying it should be a reality show. I think that it'd be better if it was actually a scripted show with, digital effects to a certain extent. But yeah, I think that a series, based on, I mean, maybe it could be a twist. It'd be called Twister or something like that, but
Twister
it would really twist. Yeah.
Oh no, that's right. That would be the sequel.
Right. Yes. It's a 2, the number 2 instead of a T, like instead of maybe a TW, it's just the 2-ister.
Right. Twist 2.
So
I'm not recommending a sequel, by the way.
Yeah. Well, what are you recommending?
What am I recommending? So, first of all, I just think like putting this back in theaters would be fun.
Yeah, I love that.
Like I would love to see. I don't know how good they'd be able to make it, but like a 3D version of it would be.
Yeah.
But
are they really doing 3D movies anymore?
No, they're not. Which is why when I thought about that idea, and then I was like, oh, but a VR experience.
A VR experience would be really cool. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Like not a 2-hour VR experience, but like almost like a ride, almost like a, amusement park ride, where you get to experience a ride,
I want to say that the Universal Studios experience was kind of one of those like Star Tours type of things where it's like you sit down on a thing and it moves along with the video that's being projected and stuff. I think.
Yeah, but I feel like going back to it, I don't think I would want to see like a new version of it made today for all of the reasons that we've been talking about.
We outlined at the beginning, yeah.
Like it would just be, it would take the fun. I feel like it would take the fun out of it. And there's also been so many movies, of all like
Sharknado
spans of budget. Well, yeah, that's exactly it. You've got like those, and then you've got like Greenland, and you've got all these other like big disaster movies.
Geostorm.
And and I feel like, especially when we're faced with actual climate crisis and disaster, and the reality of intense storms that have claimed lives and destroyed property, it just doesn't feel like in the best taste to make a popcorn movie.
Right. And that's where I think that something like Sharknado can be more enjoyable, is because it's so ludicrous.
Right.
That, it takes you further out of the real life experience. And it makes it, more enjoyable that way. Dan, have you ever experienced a tornado?
No, I do not believe I have. Not to the best of my recollection.
Neither have I.
You?
But I'm just I mean, we grew up on the
hurricanes.
Grew up on the East Coast. Now live on the West Coast. You spent a little bit of time in the middle of the country.
South,
a little bit more
southeast, really more the south. I did not really get to like the middle of the country. I didn't get to Arkansas and Oklahoma, Kansas.
Yeah.
So I've never experienced it. I've experienced, like I said, hurricanes. Hurricane Sandy probably being the most intense of a hurricane that I've personally experienced. But I mean, it's just like, it's terrifying. And I think Twister does a really good job of showing you what that, especially the scene after Aunt Meg's house is destroyed, and they go to, and it's just like, houses are just like, they're demolished.
Aunt Meg's, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, terrifying,
man.
Just like the
haunting.
The thought of it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Haunting.
Absolutely haunting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that there's definitely room for there to be something done with Twister, but yeah, you're right. I mean, bringing it back into theaters would be really cool, to experience. I'd love to experience the sound as it was, intended, because I don't think I saw this one in the theater when it came out. I probably saw it right when it came out on video. And that might have been the last time I saw it until just the other day. And then, I think that the aspect, so I love taking note of when movies also like have a scene at a drive-in theater, because that's something that nowadays has become more and more common because of COVID. And I think that I mean, I do work for an organization that organizes drive-in theater situations, but I'm not in the planning part of that. I am on a different side of that, and it would be really fun to have a series of movies that feature drive-in theaters. The Outsiders. There's just like so many that would would work really well.
Great ones.
And, yeah.
Although, man, imagine, I'm just, sometimes when I see different movies on a drive-in theater, it's like The Shining at a drive-in. Whoa.
Well, that's another thing, is this is another movie where Helen Hunt appears with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, there you go.
And that, my friends, is as good as it gets.
Ouch. Wow.
So, but doing, a series at a drive-in of movies that have drive-ins, Monster Squad, that'd be a great one.
Yeah. Monster Squad being such a great drive-in movie. Love it.
You do not have to convince me to buy a ticket to that one. I am already there.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I miss the drive-in, and I hope the drive-in theater that we used to go to up in Warwick, New York, my wife and I used to go over the summers. Hope it's still up and running. Hope it's flourishing. And I saw lots of fun movies there.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Yeah, drive-ins are awesome.
Yeah. Well, Dan, do you want to tell everyone what we're going to be covering on our next episode?
Well, if you haven't figured it out just yet, I mean, because we made absolutely no references to it until about a moment ago.
That's not true.
Since the beginning. Anything in the middle there?
No, I had one in the middle.
Did you have one in the middle? I even missed it. So
I even looked at you and I thought that you were like smiling about it. Maybe I just said something else witty.
Chances are. So our next one is going to be another Jan de Bont directorial achievement of 1989, featuring a plethora of digital effects.
You say 89?
99. Yes, and that is The Haunting, which it was a remake, and there have been different kind of versions. I think it was originally a story by Shirley Jackson, The Haunting of Hill House, and then there's House on Haunted Hill,
right?
All types of things. And then Jan de Bont did it in 99, starring Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, Lily Taylor, Bruce Dern, Famke Janssen. Famke Janssen.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to watch The Haunting. I've never seen it before. I remember the trailer for it because I feel like that was like a big time for like Lily Taylor. She just like happened to be in a lot of things at that time.
Well, I know we'll talk more about it, but yeah, this was the big crossover for Lily Taylor from indie cinema to the blockbuster scene.
Yeah. Send us an email. Let us know what your thoughts are. ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. There's also a link to our link tree in this episode's description.
And if you, since neither John nor I have ever experienced a tornado firsthand, if you have, let us know. Let us know if you've seen Twister and you've experienced the real thing. Like, what did they get? What did they miss?
Yeah. Also, I'm curious about, we've played some clips that include some of the sounds that tornadoes could make, and I'm curious to know how accurate those were. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, check out our the link tree. It's got all of our social media stuff in there. Dan does an awesome job keeping us active on Instagram. And check out our TeePublic store. We got some really fun stuff on there. And I'm still working on the Catherine Trammell Reed posters. I just haven't had a moment to devote the time to that, but maybe tomorrow.
When you least expect it, there she'll be.
Yeah, and various other authors from cinema. So yeah,
Paul Sheldon Reed.
Yeah. Well, Dan, as you are chasing them NATOs, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.